Neurotic Literature by James Lark. This story, Let's Pretend. "I can't go in," said Thomas Jenkins. "I can't." "You have to go in," insisted Mrs. Jenkins for about the 15th time, anxiety written all over her face. "Thomas, you must." "I can't." They looked miserably at the large, turreted building on the other side of the car park, its imposing wooden door looking, Mrs. Jenkins had to admit, rather uninviting, even though she knew that it was absolutely lovely on the inside. No, it was wrong of her even to be thinking that it looked uninviting. Everything looks uninviting in the dark, doesn't it? That was no reason for being irrational, and it certainly didn't excuse Thomas being so stubborn and unhelpful. "Thomas, you must," she repeated, annoyed with herself at how feeble her pleading was making her sound. "I can't." "But why not?" she asked, again for about the 15th time. "I just can't." Perhaps if they could persuade Thomas to walk as far as the door, he would stop being so silly. But he was clinging to the wing mirror of their SUV as if to avoid being dragged inside, something which of course they would never resort to. Thank goodness Thomas's father had locked the car, otherwise she was sure the boy would have climbed back into it by now and would be refusing even to step out of it. "If you could explain what you're worried about, I could reassure you that it's nonsense," she reasoned. "Please, Thomas." But the small boy shook his head vigorously and clung to the wing mirror. Mr. Jenkins returned from where he had been having an angry pace a little distance away. He looked less anxious than his wife and considerably more annoyed. "Stop being so ridiculous," he told his son. "You don't have a choice in this. You have to go inside." "Please," said Thomas, a tear rolling down his cheek. "Please don't make me. I can't." "You can and you will. Say goodbye to your mother and let's have no more of this." "I can't." "Stop this! Stop this ridiculousness!" He began pacing again, his hands on his hips. "Clearly we won't be able to take you out at the weekend anymore if this is how you're going to behave when we bring you back. We've had a lovely afternoon with you, and now you've gone and ruined it." On the other side of the car park, the door opened a crack, and several small faces poked out into the night air, silhouetted by the bright sliver of light behind them. They were like rabbits, thought Mrs. Jenkins, rabbits bobbing out of their holes, and there was nothing at all uninviting about rabbits. "It's Jenkins!" said an excited voice. "Jenkins!" Other voices echoed with high-pitched enthusiasm. "Look, Thomas, it's your friend come to meet you," said Mrs. Jenkins, pleased. "Why don't you run over and go inside with them?" suggested Mr. Jenkins. But still Thomas Jenkins stood clinging to the wing mirror, shaking his head vigorously. "Come on, Jenkins!" called his friend. "We're making biscuits. Come and help. If you hurry, you can choose which shapes to make them." "I don't mind if you choose what shape I make my biscuit, Jenkins." "We have so many shapes to choose from, Jenkins." "Hurry inside, Jenkins. Hurry, or you'll miss it." The door closed, and the sliver of light blinked out, leaving the Jenkins family alone in the gloomy car park. "There you go, old chap," said Thomas's father, trying to make his impatience sound more cheerful. "You heard them. Get inside and have a wonderful time making biscuits." "I can't," said Thomas, more tears squeezing their way out of his eyes. "Please, I can't." His mother knelt down in front of him and gently took his shoulders in her hands. Underneath his heavy winter coat he seemed so tiny and vulnerable, barely bigger than when he was a newborn baby, really. She studied his tear-streaked face with concern. "Please tell us what the matter is, Thomas. Are you being bullied?" He shook his head. "Is the work too difficult? Are you struggling to keep up?" He shook his head again. "If something's the matter, we can discuss it with one of the schoolmasters. We can sort it out." He just shook his head wordlessly, and shook it, and shook it. "There has to be a reason, Thomas. If there isn't a reason, then you're being silly." "There isn't a reason," snapped Mr. Jenkins, giving up on sounding cheerful. "He's doing it to get his own way, nothing more than that. He's being manipulative." "There is a reason," insisted Thomas. "Well, what is it?" I can't explain," he said, the tears running freely over his flushed cheeks. "Please, can't I come home?" "Oh, Thomas, this is your home," replied his mother in despair. "It is not," said Thomas. "This is nothing like a home. I want to go home with you." Oh, Thomas." Mrs. Jenkins turned her head and met her husband's eyes. "Couldn't we For one night?
Absolutely not, said Mr. Jenkins. We pay a great deal of money to send him to a school where he can sleep and live, and for him to pretend that it's not his home is pure ingratitude.
But a school is not a home, the boy cried. Home is where you are. That's where I belong.
No, his father retorted, that is our home, and you are very welcome to visit us there in the holidays and the like. But your home, he gestured at the murky, turreted edifice, is here.
The door opened a crack again, light spilling out.
Jenkins, voices called. Do hurry up, we're having a party. Yes, hurry up, Jenkins, the games are about to start. Come and join us and we'll let you win. There, Mr. Jenkins barked with a triumphant smile. What could be more homely than a party with games, eh? You won't get that at our home. Well, apart from the occasional round of Monopoly, but that's not really a game, or at any rate, it's also an excellent lesson in the workings of finance and property.
But party games? That sounds most jolly, agreed Mrs. Jenkins encouragingly. They're going to let you win and everything.
You won't get that when we play Monopoly, added Mr. Jenkins, and he guffawed knowingly. Ha ha ha! Best prepare yourself for a good old thrashing on that front. You're much better off here. Come on, Jenkins, urged the voices. There's ice cream. There's balloons. There's a huge jelly in the shape of an elephant. The voices cooed and enticed, the details of the wonderful party floating through the cold car park, until the door closed once more and left Thomas still clinging to the car, shaking his head, imploring his parents to take him home. Pure ingratitude, his father restated.
I don't see how they could possibly do more to welcome you, said his mother helplessly.
Let go of the car at once, you ungrateful boy. Go inside and join the party.
They're all so friendly and kind. Why won't you play with them?
You don't even deserve a party. I shall tell the schoolmasters to send you straight to bed without one.
You have to, Thomas. We can't stay out here all night.
We should drive off and leave you out here. That's what we should do.
An uneasy silence fell over the family. Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins having tried everything and run out of ideas, Thomas wondering if this might mean they had given up and whether perhaps after all they would unlock the car and he would find himself any moment now speeding along the country roads towards his own home and his own cosy bed. Then, "Hey, Jenkins!" The door was open again, little faces crowding into the gap and calling him in bright, eager tones. "Won't you hurry in and join us, Jenkins? It's no fun without you. Please, Jenkins, we need you to join in the games. It's so much better when you're playing. Come on, Jenkins. Come on, Jenkins." "See," said his father, "you're ruining their evening as well as ours." "They're desperate to play with you, Thomas," said his mother. "Won't you go in for their sake?" But Thomas wouldn't go in, not for anyone's sake, and hugged the wing mirror all the more tightly.
"Come inside, Jenkins," the voices continued. "We're going to have a film night. We're getting out the big projector screen and the surround sound system. We got all of your favourite movies on 35mm film, Jenkins. We just need you to pick out which one we're going to watch."
"They've done absolutely everything they can to make you happy, Thomas," his mother said to him, weeping a little. "I don't know what more anyone can do."
"Get inside now," shouted his father. "Get in and enjoy film night."
"No," said Thomas vigorously, shaking his head.
"Come on, Jenkins," the voices called with brewing excitement. "We have fireworks, and a laser display, and 100 drones that light up in different colours, with live accompaniment by the London Philharmonic Orchestra."
"Well," gasped Mrs. Jenkins, trying so hard to smile, "I almost wish that I was invited to that." But her false enthusiasm counted for nothing. Her son clung to the car.
"Do come in, Jenkins. We're building a working model of Tower Bridge. There are dodgem cars. There are zebra rides. We've poured you a fizzy pop."
"Those sound like nice things," said Mrs. Jenkins, distressed. "Why don't you want to do the nice things?" But he didn't, and even as the cries from the doorway rose in merriment and anticipation, he clung more tightly to the wing mirror and squeezed his eyes shut, as if he could imagine the whole situation away. "No, no, I won't," he insisted, determined now. They wouldn't get him to go in. They couldn't make him. But his father had had enough. He marched over to his errant son and took him by the scruff of the neck. "Gerald," began Mrs. Jenkins, "I don't think—"
"No," he snarled. "He has to go to school and we have to get home." And he peeled his son off the car. "Please, Daddy," begged Thomas, "please don't make me." But his legs felt weak and he was walking in spite of himself as his father propelled him across the car park. And after all, his father was a big, strong man and he was only 9. How could he really resist? "Please," he repeated. And then he opened his mouth and out came an elongated "no" that carried on into a dreadful, anguished howl. "Come on, Jenkins," the other boys cried, their silhouetted faces much closer now, and still he howled miserably, his father grimly pushing him in his half-walk, half-stumble, his mother following on with a look of concern, her protests drowned out by the distraught wail that filled the air. "That's it, Jenkins, you're nearly here," the other boys cried in encouragement, and now Thomas was at the door and they were crowding to meet him and patting him on the back and greeting him with big, exaggerated smiles. "3 cheers for Jenkins," went the cry, and the cheers nearly drowned out his prolonged moan as the boys took his arms and ruffled his hair and surrounded him, blotting out the last view of his parents who were now smiling and waving at him because thank goodness it was all right after all, and wasn't Thomas lucky to have so many nice friends looking out for him, and he had one last glimpse of them through the crack in the door before it shut out their proud, beaming smiles, before it sealed his cry of abandonment into the dark building with a click. They stood in a group, arms folded, unimpressed faces. "What did you tell them?" one boy asked coldly. "Nothing," Thomas quickly said. "I didn't tell them anything, only that I didn't want to come inside." "You must have said more than that." "You were out there for long enough." "Fancy making such a stupid fuss about coming inside anyway." He looked from the other boys to the empty dining table. He looked at the bland, peeling walls and back to the boys in their bland, grey uniforms. "I knew there wasn't really a party," he said sadly. "Oh, here he goes," someone muttered. "I knew there wouldn't be balloons and a jelly shaped like an elephant. I knew there were no fireworks and dodgem cars. I knew you were only pretending." "Yes," said one of the boys aggressively, "and if you weren't so pig-headed, you could be part of the pretend party with us." "But what's the point?" Thomas asked. "It's not real." "Typical Jenkins," sneered a boy with freckles. "Thinks he's too good to pretend with us." "Yeah," agreed another boy. "If he wasn't so stubborn about pretending, we might pretend we were his friends." "I don't want pretend friends," said Thomas. "I want real friends." "How's that going for you?" asked the freckly boy with a sarcastic laugh. "Yeah, better to have pretend friends than no friends at all." "Yeah," they all agreed. "Come on," said the first boy. "We've got a pretend film to watch." And he led his pretend friends over to the far side of the room, which was where they pretended. There was a huge projector screen and surround sound system. One of the older boys hung back. This was a boy who liked to tell people that he was a prefect, but he was only pretending. "They're right, Jenkins," he said. "You need to buck up your ideas or you're going to get left behind." Thomas wasn't sure whether the boy wanted to rub it in or if he was trying to help, though if it was the latter, Thomas knew that he would only be pretending in any case. "What do you think is going to happen to you after you leave this place?" the boy continued. "I can't wait to leave this place," Thomas replied, tears pricking his eyelids. "I can't wait to leave behind this horrible school and the horrible schoolwork and these phony people and do real work and make real friends in the real world." The older boy shook his head, bewildered. "Honestly, Jenkins, it's like you don't even get what you're here for." "I'm here to learn," said Thomas angrily, "to be taught concepts to enable me to move beyond my experience, to develop skills and knowledge, to grow as a person. That's what ordinary schools are for. Do you really think your parents would be shelling out for a special school like this if it was just going to do the same as any other school?" "What do you mean?" whispered Thomas. "Don't you think there are thousands, millions of people who learn stuff at school? Millions of people with skills?" Thomas shrugged. The boy went on. "What chance do you think they have against people who've been taught to pretend? Against people who head out into the world with an established circle of pretend friends? People who have learned how to confidently pretend that they can do anything? Do you really think people with skills have any hope of competing with that?" "But surely everyone thinks that jobs ought to be done by the best people," stuttered Thomas. The older boy laughed, a short, sarcastic grunt. "Even some of the jobs are pretend. The people doing them are just really good at pretending the jobs are important." Thomas couldn't look at him. He felt lost. He wanted to weep, but he knew that it would only make him look foolish and wouldn't get him any sympathy. Or it would get him pretend sympathy, which would be even worse.
And friends? He asked, keeping his eyes fixed on the floor and trying to hide the wobble in his voice. There must be some other people who want real friends.
I'll be honest, Jenkins, the boy said dismissively. You're a pretty difficult person to even pretend to like. I wouldn't bank on other people being remotely interested in you one way or the other, unless you're prepared to start pretending to be more likeable. He looked Thomas up and down, rolled his eyes, then strutted away, leaving Thomas feeling empty and desolate. Thomas stared at the dusty grey floor, at his dusty, scuffed shoes, at his grey school trousers. Then he looked up and watched the older boy join the others as they cheerfully put out pretend chairs and pretended to load a projector with pretend film and handed out pretend popcorn, chatting to each other with pretend excitement about the pretend film they were about to pretend to enjoy. He gazed at the scene with a kind of longing, and although his feet remained rooted to the spot, he could feel his legs weakening, relenting to the pull of the cosy familiarity of the scene in front of him. Of course, he didn't want to join in. But it would be so easy to pretend that he did. You have been listening to Neurotic Literature, written and performed by me, James Lark. If you've enjoyed it, you can show your appreciation in lots of different ways. You can leave a review on your podcast platform of choice. You can tell other people to listen to it, spam your friends and family, or just random people on social media. And if you think that the podcast was worth actual money, you can now donate to support it at ko-fi.com/neurotic literature, where you are encouraged to buy me a hypothetical cup of coffee. Absolutely no obligation, of course. Coffee is a luxury, like eating.